what happened was I was getting into trouble, and my father and my Uncle Sal and my Uncle Frank, they brought me down to a house that my Uncle Frank had on Dean Street, where we used to put the cigarettes in because he was a cigarette bootlegger, they used to call him. We used to get a 40-foot trailer every week of cigarettes loaded into the house. And they brought my cousin Mac down, and we were all talking, and they were trying to see if they can get me out of being that. I kept telling them I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be a gangster.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, it didn't work. My cousin Mac even cracked me a couple of times. He hit me a couple of times, stuck a gun in my face, and it didn't work. So they decided to put me with him. So when they brought me down to the Diplomat on Carroll Street and 3rd Avenue, and I met Joe Colombo and Tom DeBello, who was my father's godfather, they were asking, "Who's the kid?" They said, "That's Frankie's kid. That's Top's kid." I said, "Don't worry about it. Keep him here. He's with us." And they gave me a little route where I would walk up the block, bring them the money, pick up the numbers. I'd walk to 5th Street and 5th Avenue, 7th Street and 5th Avenue. Then I was about 16, and they gave me a route. Joe gave me a spot in Bay Ridge on 3rd Avenue between 85th and 86th Street, the Cadabra Club. He says, "You come here." He says, "You're going to pick up the daily receipts. You're going to pick up the numbers for the day and night, the receipts with the money. You're going to pick up the sports action for the day with the receipts and the money, the numbers, everything, Shylock money." All right, so I had all the books. I would get it, and then I would go and bring it down to 3rd Avenue and Carroll Street, or I'd bring it up to 5th Avenue and Carroll Street, to Scappy's Club. Now, one day I'm in there, and I was in the afternoon. A guy walks in, and he says, who's taking the action here? So I says, "I am. Can I help you?" Guy pulled out a gun and pistol with me, and I still got the scar right over here in my left eye. Pistol with me to the point where I couldn't even see, telling me he's going to kill me if I ever come back, and my mother's going to have a closed coffin and all this other nonsense. With that, I had an Electra 225 Limited that my cousin Mac had given me to drive. I had no driver's license. I made it down to 3rd Avenue and Carroll Street. I went to make a U-turn. I crashed into the wall of the Diplomat. They all come running out the door. I got shot. They brought me to Methodist Hospital. They found out it was a beating, that I got, and I told them what happened. After I came out of the hospital, they brought me down to see Joe Colombo. I wanted to see how I was doing. And I went down to Monty's restaurant, and Joe said that he was going to take care of this. I said, "Okay, Joe, I appreciate it, whatever." My cousin Mac, Ali Boy Persico, Jerry Lang, Carmine Persico, who's deceased now, he was the boss of the family now, and everybody called him to just come here. "Listen, if Joe Colombo handles this for you, you're his man, which means you can't do nothing unless he gives the okay. And if he don't want you made, you never get made. But if you handle it yourself, then that shows you're one of us, and when it's your time to get made, you'll get made." So they says, "Which way you want to go?" I went over to Joe Colombo. I said, "Joe, can I speak to you a minute?" He said, "Yeah, what?" I said, "I appreciate what you want to do for me." I said, "But I feel I should take care of this myself." He got a smile on his face. This guy guzzed me. He hugged me. He gave me a kiss. He says, "You got my blessings. Do what you got to do." A friend of mine, Joey D, and his uncle was Sally D. They had a bar on Union Street and 3rd Avenue, the Union Street bar. You had a bar upstairs, then you had a basement, then you had a sub-basement. And the sub-basement where they had guns and everything, because they were gun runners, they were bookmakers, they were Shylocks. I mean, they were into everything. I mean, these guys, they could get your B-52 bomber. Just give them 2 days' notice, and he'd have it. I'm telling you, that's how good these guys were. I went and saw Joey D, and I told him what happened. I told him I needed a gun, and he brought me downstairs, and they gave me a Beretta. It was a 380 Beretta. And I test fired it. They showed me how to shoot it and everything. I was doing very good. I was hitting bullseyes left and right with it, and I never shot a gun. It just came natural to me. I went back to the Diplomat on Carroll and 3rd, had a paper bag, and he gave me the gun as a gift, him and his uncle. They said, "It's a gift." They gave me a box of bullets. Had the paper bag, walked over. My cousin Mac was going to take me home. Says, "What's in the bag?" I pulled out the gun. After he smacked it out of my hand and smacked me, he says, "You ain't got a license." He says, "What are you doing with this?" I said, "I'm going to go down Friday night to the Cadabra Club, and I'm going to straighten this out with Sally Burns. Now, I'm going to explain everything in a minute." I says, "But, I'm bringing this for protection." He goes, "Okay." Friday night, I get ready, get all dressed up, stop down by the Diplomat. down Monty's rather. Then I shoot out the Bay Ridge. I walk into the Cadaver Club, and Dookie, the bartender's outside, saying, "What are you doing here? This guy Sally's crazy. He's been shaking everybody down. He's robbing the register. Guy's gonna kill you." I said, "Dookie, don't worry about it." I said, I'm gonna settle this." I said, "Don't worry. I'm gonna talk to him. He's gonna listen. I'm gonna settle it." Now, when you walked in there, you walk straight. You had the bar was on your left side. On your right side, you walk about maybe 40, 45 feet, and there was a little ledge people put their drinks on. Then it veered over to the left, like an L, and there was a dance floor, DJ booth. I seen Sally Burns sitting there with his back to me, and he was with this girl Karen Scusa, and she seen me. And when the music went down, I heard her say, "Anthony's behind you." Now, for whatever the reason was, I took the gun out of my waistband. I had it in my hand on my side when I was walking through the club. Why? I don't know. Why did I take it out? I have no idea. I think because I was scared, if you want to understand. It's because it's the first time I really ever had a serious problem. He gets up, starts screaming and yelling how he's going to kill me. My mother's going to have I was going to have a closed coffin for me and everything. He throws open his jacket. I see the gun in his waistband. He goes to grab the gun. I picked up my hand. I emptied the whole clip into his head, into his face, his head, and his chest. Killed him. Got in the car, drove back down to Cattle Street. Before I got to the Diplomat, I stopped on Fort Hamilton, not Fort Hamilton, on underneath the Gowanus Canal. I went to there, under Hamilton Avenue, parked my car, got out, went across the street, dismantled the gun, threw it into the thing. Like my cousin says, you use a gun, you get rid of it. Threw it in there. Went down there, went down to the Diplomat, and I asked Joe Blood, "Where's everybody?" He says, "They're in Monty's." Went to Monty's. This is, "What are you doing?" So I told them what happened, and they all looked at me. So he said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think he's dead." So they sent little Vincent there. Little Vincent come back in less than an hour. He said, "The guy's dead. He's got no head." He said, he blew his head to shit. This guy's done. Meanwhile, then Joe Colombo gives me a 7-7, no more soda. Give me something to eat. And then everything took off after that. Well, a couple of things I want to explain, which you're going to get all these guys who think they know about the mob and everything. The Sally Burns, and I said this not many times, maybe 100 times I've said this. Sally Burns that I shot and that I killed was a cousin to Sally Granello, who got killed by his own men in his van, that they shot him in the head. This was a cousin of his. Now there was a Sally Burns, Frankie Burns, and Jimmy Burns. And they all named their kids the same thing, and their cousins were named. Everybody tells me, no, it's not true. In an Italian family, you could have 20 Ralphies, 19 Carmines, 16 Sals, 32 Anthonys. That's the way it was. It was his cousin who I killed. Not Sally Burns himself. It was his cousin. But his last name was Granello. He was like, whatever, second, third cousin to him or whatever the frig it was. That's who I killed. Everybody wants to say, you're lying. The guy Sally Burns was killed in the van or in a car by his own men. That's not the guy I said I killed. And I explain it in my book and in my podcast who the guy was. But you know what? People just don't want to put it in their head because they got to have somebody they can pick on. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To try to make me look like I'm a liar, which I'm not. And right. they can never say my story is wrong.
Yeah.
So as far as the gun, let me explain. You had some jerk off, and a guy used to says, "Oh, the Beretta 380 wasn't around till 1974, 75. Well, moron, and the guy knows who he is. Beretta has been around since the 1800s or maybe even the 1700s. Number one. Number two, it was a 380. The only thing I was wrong about was I said it was a Model 84. And the reason why I said that was years later when we were talking about it, I asked Joey D. I said, Joey, what was that? That was the Beretta. I said, what was the model? He says 84. He could have been wrong. I was 16 years old. What the fuck do I know about guns at 16? Never handled one until then. But it was a Beretta, and it was a 380. Italy had a 380 caliber going back to like 1900. It didn't come here to the United States until maybe in the 70s. All right? That's what people don't want to realize because, somebody's always got to print something to make me sound like I'm wrong or I'm a liar. Right. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert with guns. I know what I'm talking about now.
Right. And so
that's what happened with
Yeah,
Sergeant Mello. And then what happened? What happened was that they sent me up to Joe Colombo's farm up in Saugerties, New York. They brought me back down Christmas time. No cops, nobody came or anything. Everything was fine. Everything was good. And then I got pinched. 2 detectives pinched me in January of 70. They pinched me. 2 cops got me in January 1970. And they got me for I think they said the murder and this, that, and whatever of one Salvatore Granello. My people got Abraham Gritz, who was a bail bondsman and a lawyer, and he was heavily involved in politics, and he had dirt on everybody. So the way he done it, he worked out a deal with the DA's office because they could only try me under the Youthful Offenders Act. They couldn't try me as an adult because I was under 24 years old. So they made a deal. It was for possession of an unregistered firearm and discharging an unregistered firearm in the city limits. They gave me a year and a half. They said I got to do the whole year and a half. I said, okay, fine. When we went to go take it, we all piled into Jerry Lang's car, and they were taking me down to Court Street to the DA's office at the courts. And when we made the turn on Boren Place, we made the right-hand turn to go to the courthouses. The FBI surrounded our car, pulled us all out. Joe Colombo was screaming that they got me. Okay, they got me. They charged me with the civil rights violation of Salvatore Granello, meaning this. The civil rights violation means, 1, I caused his death. 2, he can't grow old. 3, he can't work. He can't support his wife. He can't be with his wife. Can't see his kids grow up. Can't see his grandchildren. Can't go away on vacation. And on and on and on it goes. That's called a civil rights violation. It's not, I always thought that was, black against white, white against black, but this is a civil rights violation. Maximum sentence, 99 years, which when I went to trial, they got William Kunstler came in, and he said, we're going to get convicted. And I says, well, why don't I just take a plea? If you take a plea, you got no more choice over here. You get convicted, we got choices. We can get you out. Okay, fine. Went to trial, I got convicted. The judge had me shipped out that night. Is it unheard of? Yes. Is it common practice? Yes. When they hate you that much, when they hate your family, and they think they were going to get me to talk, there was a bus going out that night, and they shipped me out that night to Lewisburg. Day and a half later, Abraham Gritz comes to see me and Kunstler. And they says, we have a thing here that if you join the military and you go to the Southeast Asian Conference, you successfully complete everything, your record's wiped out, expunged, no trace of nothing, you have no history of anything, you're done, over and done with. Okay, now, at that time, they were bringing guys into the service who had felony records. The Army wouldn't take me. The Navy wouldn't take me, and the Air Force wouldn't take me. So they sent me to the Marine base in Camp Lejeune, that the MPs came pick me up. I got my basic training there, but when we went in country into Nam, they shipped me to the Army. The Army would take me then. And I was in the 3-7, which was infantry. But I was taught as a sniper, so I became a sniper there. Now, there was a separate unit that all of us in my unit, all right, what do we used to call ourselves? I think the 2-7 or something, or the 6-7, something like that. I'll never forget the number that they called us, which we were all felons who had, 99 years or better, who had more than that. They taught us, they wanted nothing to do with us, the military, the Marines, because we were convicted criminals. Now, everybody in that unit had anywhere from 99 years to life, to double life, whatever. If you successfully completed your tours in Nam, you came home, everything was wiped out. You have no record. You have no, you can't use the, like the VA hospital. We get no VA benefits, no nothing. Everything's wiped out. We're clean because we are convicted felons, and they still have it to this day. I believe they still have the Youth Offenders Act.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip.
This clip came from one of my interviews I did in the past. Please hit subscribe if you want to get more clips like this. Also, if you want to watch the full interview, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can hit the button on the screen to watch the full interview.